Thank you so much, Thomas. I can read it. So that wraps up our open mic version of the reading tonight. If there's any last takers, now is when you shout or rubber hold your peace. So I'm really excited about our first reader tonight, as I am about all of our readers. But just to say, I saw her on stage a couple of months ago and was like, I'm gonna meet this person and I'm going to ask her to read her ice cream social. And that's kind of how I find you all, is I fall in love with you and I'm like, I'm gonna ask them to come and eat ice cream with me. And she said yes, and I'm so happy and amazed by everything she does for the community. So today joining us first is a poet and educator, Katelin Kelly. She may have handed you a card earlier today. She recently earned her MFA from the New Writers Project at UT Austin, like last week, so feel free to congratulate her. Her poetry can be found in or is forthcoming from Misadventures Magazine, Sonora Review, and Narrative Magazine, among others. She is currently a teaching artist for Badger Dog and the incoming managing editor for Bat City Review. Her favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate fudge rum. Please welcome to the stage, Katelin Kelly.
Thank you guys. Thank y'all for being here. So as was mentioned just a second ago, I probably handed or accosted and harassed many of you earlier with one of these cards. And one thing I really like to do is engage the audience in different ways in readings. And so tonight, in thinking about this as being a reading series that focuses on women, I wanted to kind of conjure the women into the room that have been meaningful to those of you who are in here with me. So I'm going to go through these cards anonymously and just share what you all wrote down. I asked people, the prompt was to write down the name of a woman they love or admire, or a description of her. So, her towering red heels and lips, menacing walk and spirit of soft spiraling wig. This is you all over. My friend, Supervisor Lauren, who is endlessly passionate and supportive. She is a mom and loves her kid annoyingly and is very aware of what's like best for you because she's a therapist. I'm very open to that. Uprooted her family when life in her country began looking bleak. An act of courage, faith, and foresight. Virginia Woolf. My friend Alexandra, who just got a job clerking on the 9th Circuit, but also cannot boil water, but she is the best. I don't know. I just love her a lot. Don't look at me. Amal Adamuddin. Almudine. I don't know.
I think we're close enough.
I don't want to say her married last name.
He's Mr. Almudine.
He's Mr. Almudine. You can Google him. There is a woman I admire. She is not from the United States, although she was born here. She grew up in Mexico on the border, but due to her American citizenship, she was forced to leave by the cartel. This woman is stronger than any I know. Zora Neale Hurston, Flannery O'Connor, Tony Moe, Sister Rose, and Sister Agnes Virginia, Adrienne Rich, Maxine Green, Kara Walker, Grace Jones, happy birthday, Patti Smith, the woman you call when you get shit medical news, and by the end of the convo, you remember you can still laugh. Her hair is sunrise, The kind of hour that in countries of black stars and men can't help but reach to touch, and yet she spent her 20s dyeing brown to blend. Her laugh, on the other hand, does anything but blend. I could close my eyes and echolocate her in a stadium with her laugh, and when she speaks advice, she always smiles and says just 3 words: love and forgive, forgive and love. You saw a spark of intensity in my eyes at the sound of music, and then touched me to a pick of a violin and helped me follow my dreams. You saw that I was sad and touched me out for ice cream. You watched the world around you change, husband and friends, and old students pass away, but never let your spirit sink for too long. If I live half as long as you, I hope to do so with as much vivacity, humor, and grace as you. Love you, Grandma. Sandra Cisneros. She's like a campfire ghost story. Grace Hopper. Rita, saint of the impossible. Zoe, who turned 12 today. Lita. Autumn Hayes. Lots of exclamation points. Maggie. Catherine Soares.
Yeah, close enough.
And Kendra Fortmeyer. Jane Goodall. The last one's blank. So they're here with us now. All of those women, whether they're here or in our minds. I normally read poetry, but I decided to read some prose tonight because I felt a little bit brave. So this poem's called What I Did with Ranch Hands. What you need to know is that I lived in South Dakota for a certain period of time, in which ranch hands are people. This is a little bit raunchy. This is a little bit sad. And wasichu is a word you might hear, which is a term in Lakota that means the person who takes the fat, which over time has come to mean white person. The red mailbox said O'Brien. I'd driven by it almost every day for 3 years. Who knew that if I took that turn down toward the ranch, I'd find a 1995 Navy Trailblazer next to a white trailer rusting orange, and Flood standing at the door, waiting with his Harvard mop top, ready to fuck me. Why was I here? Why was Flood here half the time? How in all of the ways I could spend my 25th summer on this earth was this the place for me now? I escaped from the escape. I could finally breathe after 3 years. I could finally look at myself and say when I was dirty, and call it what I was, and get so high I didn't even care about my own ass. Flood talked about all of his res friends like good old boys. He'd tell me about the time he was out with Katelin, faded, and the cops chased them to the edge of the Badlands. They hopped out of the car and hid, lost the tribal police. And I'm listening to him tell this story like he's talking like he's from here, like he grew up with these guys. He'd been here for 10 years, coming and going like most Wasichus. He had a beard and glasses and flannel shirts, which fit him out here on Todd's ranch in a completely different way than they did in Brooklyn or LA or Havana once it opened back up. And when I Googled Flood, all of these headshots popped up from his book deal a few years back. I saw pictures of him with Sloane Crossley. They dated, he claimed. She probably wrote about him, or didn't. But the second I saw Crossley _ Sloane like one of Flood's photos of a calf on Instagram, I knew he was only one Kevin Bacon away from being in an episode of Girls, which made me question my escape as escapism. I talked to Flood about how I was supposed to go on a vision quest with Ed. I was supposed to be making prayer ties. I had the tobacco, but I was holding out on going to Walmart to buy the fabric, because I never knew how much to order. I didn't know how to sew. I thought the stress and dysfunction of the Hancock fabrics in Lexington, Kentucky, how my mom hated going there, how she made us dresses out of t-shirts when we were little, and how every woman at the store was mean, and it felt cold, smelled like hot glue gun and tile all over my feet. Fabric store hate. That was my excuse for never making the prayer ties. But Ed reassured me there was no wrong way of going about making them. As long as your heart was good and praying, it was sacred. Ed was sacred. And I skipped out on my vision quest to get fucked up with Flood in his trailer. I told Ed that I couldn't do Vision Quest because I was teaching summer school, which I was. And they'd changed the schedule so many times that my weekend wasn't free anymore, which was all true. But I think I really felt unworthy. I didn't want to go on to Vision Quest because I didn't feel stable. But really, I think I missed the point altogether. Within a month I left, like all the Wasichus before me. I moved to Austin. My first week there, Ryan Jumping Eagle sent me a Facebook message letting me know that Ed was on his journey. He passed in his sleep. His 9-year-old grandson found him that morning in bed. It was just the two of them in Ed's trailer. His grandson had to go get help, and it played out in my mind, Ed asleep, Ed at peace, Ed's grandson running down the road to Bim's, and Bim coming back, touching his brother's arm, knowing his spirit was above him. How could I ever go back now? How does anyone? The school year had to start anyway. Everyone had to go on. And there was a string of suicides. So many I couldn't feel them anymore. So many I wanted to hide. So many I knew there was more pain than what I'd ever felt before. So many. It didn't even matter if I knew them or not, because I could feel them all the way down in Texas. And I cried. Wish I'd made prayer ties. But I knew I was a dumbass for thinking anything I ever did mattered. So in thinking about this reading series and in preparing and thinking about women and the ways in which we feel or don't feel inadequate or comfortable or ready for things that come at us, I started thinking about lineage. And so my name's Katelin, which comes from Hecatory, which comes from Hecate, who is a Greek goddess. And so I started thinking about spells she might cast today. So this is Spell by Hecate. Sitting on a Craigslist couch, his feet on a ceramic Jaguar, the guitar player I live with covers songs every night, serenading his girlfriend 90 miles down the road. I wash dishes, the walls shake. Let the pot sit, suds bubbling where water once boiled. The Clorox does all the work in my hand, filing down the apple stains on our counter. The guitar player I live with strums clean nothings to her body, his voice like something in the aquifers, and I go down Bone Road, let it coat me. A dust blows hard, and I shadow through, licking my imprint, my unfixed mark, my smudge at best. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'm from Kentucky, and bluegrass music, anybody like bluegrass music here? Okay, so I put a challenge forth, which was, can you make a poem that sounds like bluegrass music? So let me know at the end if I've succeeded. Right? Clay how halo on a birch tree, rising, rising, rising. It'll grow when it's risen, every day getting good with the dirt. Horses docked for the man walking down Main Street with an ice cream cone nuzzling its way out of his back pocket. The man with wetted on denim kept pace, luring them from the post. Night walking the long dogs, hordes of Maine licking his drizzle, nodding a skinny call to the cone. Breast, ape, arsenic. Lexington's in search of a bird to fly over drippy trails, the trenches of hitch rail felony over the rise of the horse capital's thirst. Root skin docked in the fish woods dying, bearding's dresser in the way it keeps dying, horses in the darker winged demise reduced. Namelessness as synonym to lawless, her mouth too illegal to have her own. She's flocking down the same cone trail years after the horse thief died. She smells peppermint redness in the lost woods, where he ate horse for weeks before hitching another and never hitching back. She stays and stays till she's named. Then, no one lives there anymore. No one lives there anymore. Redbird gone. Cedar deer coming over clover, squirrel snapper hawktail, looking back tide. Her granddaughter lived in Aspendale, a name prettier than it was, meaning it wasn't as bad as it could be. Scent is the smallest possible. This is largely where her granddaughter lived. Metal accented rims and appliances, asphalt rolling over clay, the deepest we can know of our soil. How you guys doing? Oh, okay. I'm glad. I have my dribbling out the door. I have one final piece called jalapenos. Anybody like jalapenos? Great. Can go on so many different things, and they always taste good. So this is another story about when I was in South Dakota, and jalapenos, and also thinking about the ways in which missing and murdered women are in our lives all the time, but we never see them, and they're there. Like if you just reach a little bit further. So this is a poem for that, or a piece for that. Leilani broke the jar of jalapenos in my back seat the night of the Kyle Fair. The carnival came with a stern warning from the principal. These are strangers in our community. We don't know them. We don't know where they came from. We don't want anyone to disappear. Come on, guys. Protect yourselves. Leilani broke the jar of jalapenos in my back seat 4 days before she transferred. To California, to Oglala. She was gone. Leilani broke the jar of jalapenos in my back seat 3 weeks before I ever thought to clean them. I never thought to clean them, actually. I waited until the smell made me burst into action. After 2 afternoon hours, 3 canisters of assorted wipes, and 1 lazy dog fell asleep underneath it, my car was cleaner. I drove to the food stop, craving a jalapeno cheeseburger and fries. Drove slow so my lazy dog wouldn't notice I was gone, but he did. Tucker ran next to the driver's side window and let his paws breathe in prairie dust. He ran like hope chases abandonment, like light catches thunder beings, like I even think to know what that means. I know, or at least I remembered, Romulus and how he chased my car with fury the night he got run over down in Kyle housing. He wasn't even supposed to be there, his owner cried after hanging up with the tribal officer. He never went over there. Never. Well, that's complete bullshit. He certainly did go over there, because at least one night, because that's where he died. This flashes, and I look at Tucker. I slow down even slower than before, open the door, and let him pounce across the top of my sunburned thighs into the passenger's side. We cruise on up to the food stop. A couple uses the restaurant's hose to wash their car, and I stick my head out the window. They're closed, the woman says, and puckers her lips, pointing across the street. Angie's is open. So we go, cruise on up to the dome-shaped haven that is Angie's Burritos. The screen door clicks open, and I turn behind me to make sure Tucker doesn't sneak his way in. He's prone to do that, you know. His sticky, pointy nose followed me into every building in Kyle, South Dakota, private and government-owned. That's how he lost his balls. Tucker fucking hates the feds. Anarchy-driven and hungry, Tucker waits with his nostrils pressed firm to the screen door, smelling the grilled chicken and steak fajitas inside the burrito dome. His jaw widens and a puddle forms under his tongue when he fans his tail. The singer Selena's framed face greets customers coming and going from the burrito stand. Gone but omnipresent, Selena's always there. And there's nothing singular about her lone picture next to the door. Smothered burrito, please. I smile at Hector, who runs the place now. Sour cream? He smiles back, looking down at my jean shorts and Clorox-stained nails. He looks backwards and up at Angie's picture above the menu behind him, pretending to search for the price. I never knew Angie, but her absence is palpable. Yes, please, and a Coke. I make eye contact with the 1 liter in the fridge and exhale with exhaustive desire in a bottle. Siempre en una botella, he shakes his head, laughing. Jalapenos? Claro que sí.